Hey there, Trailblazers, I hope you guys are all doing well. So over the past little while, some really interesting info started popping up about version 4.2, and I wanted to go over it with you. As apparently according to new info from a very reliable source, the characters Firefly, Seele, Welt, and Huohuo are all expected to get NOVAFLARE buffs in the upcoming patch, which could shift how some older units fit into the current meta. If you've been curious about how these characters might stay relevant, or are just looking to see how your favorite units might get stronger, then stick around because we're going to break down everything we know so far. As always though, let me just give a quick disclaimer that all of the info presented in this video comes from unofficial sources as well as some of my own personal speculation, meaning nothing here is officially confirmed yet. So please make sure to take all of this with a large grain of salt as things could still change before the patch goes live. Okay, let's first start with Firefly. Firefly's kit is centered around dealing fire damage, breaking enemy shields, and sustaining herself through high-risk play, making her one of the more unique DPS options in the game. Her skill lets her sacrifice a portion of her own HP to regenerate energy while dealing strong fire damage, and her ultimate complete combustion enhances her basic attacks and skills, increases her speed, and boosts her weakness break efficiency significantly. Right now, Firefly's biggest hurdle has been how inconsistent her damage pacing can feel compared to newer DPS units. The rumored NOVAFLARE buff for her seems likely to address this by smoothing out her energy generation and enhancing how quickly she can enter and maintain her complete combustion state. If Huohuo improves her energy regeneration or speeds up how fast she can get into that empowered mode, it would make her feel much more fluid in combat and a lot less punishing when things don't go perfectly. Next up is Seele, who many of you know as one of the classic high-burst DPS units. Seele's kit is all about dealing massive quantum damage and gaining extra turns through her resurgence mechanic. When she defeats an enemy, she immediately enters a buff state and gets an extra action, with her attacks hitting much harder while that buff is active. The issue Seele has had lately is that her damage spike-focused playstyle doesn't always mesh with slower fights or content that doesn't allow constant enemy takedowns, which newer DPS units handle more gracefully. From what we're hearing, her NOVAFLARE buff could involve making her resurgence buff easier to activate or more flexible in how it triggers, for example, giving her additional ways to gain the buff beyond just defeating an enemy. That alone would help her feel much more consistent in modern team compositions while keeping her identity as a burst-oriented fighter intact. Now, let's talk about Welt. Welt typically functions as a sub-DPS and debuffer. His kit revolves around crowd control, slowing enemies, and applying negative effects that let your team set up big damage windows more reliably. With a NOVAFLARE buff, the focus might be on enhancing his existing strengths, for example, boosting his debuff application rates, improving how his ultimate or skill interacts with enemies' speed or status, or even giving him smoother energy regeneration, so he can cast more frequently. These kinds of changes wouldn't transform him into a main carry, but they could make him much more consistent and impactful in both abyss floors and longer elite fights. And then there's Huohuo, who, as many of you already know, is a primary healer with team buffing utility. She excels at sustained support by healing, dispelling debuffs, and boosting energy and attack for the whole team whenever possible. A potential NOVAFLARE buff for her might further strengthen her utility, for example, increasing healing output, improving her energy regeneration effects, or giving her buff effects slightly longer durations. This would make her even more dependable as a universal healer, especially in teams where survivability and consistent energy are key, and would help her stand up more clearly against other premium healers in the game. What's really interesting about all four of these units getting NOVAFLARE buffs in the same patch is that it shows Huohuo isn't just focused on new characters. They're also putting effort into making older favorites feel more relevant alongside the latest releases. This is great for players who have invested in these characters over time, or who missed them on their original banners and were hesitant to pull because they felt outdated. Firefly could emerge as a very reliable DPS again, especially in teams that need strong break potential. Seele might fit more comfortably into modern DPS lineups without feeling like she was left behind. Welt's improvements could turn him into a more consistent and rewarding sub-DPS and debuffer, and Huohuo's enhanced support could make her shine in longer, harder content where survivability and sustained utility are key. Overall, I have a feeling that these buffs will be implemented thoughtfully to keep older units engaging without disrupting the balance of the game. It's exciting to think about the strategies and team compositions that might emerge, and it gives players a reason to revisit characters that might have been sitting on the sidelines for a while. So that's the current info we have on the NOVAFLARE buffs for Firefly, Seele, Welt, and Huohuo in version 4.2. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future HSR updates, news, and character breakdowns. That's it for now, so I'll be seeing you in the next video.